Some people practice it, but they don't call it urban forestry. Why not? I think it is an important concept that you need to be in the forefront of driving home. I think you need to be aggressive in terms of what you have to offer our communities, letting people know what it is about, the role they play, why you're essential to solving problems that face us at the community level and the national level. But what I will do is talk for a moment about why the time that you are experiencing here and professionally is so important. One of my primary goals in Congress is for the United States to focus again on how we rebuild and renew America. Our infrastructure, whether it is the built environment or the green infrastructure, is stressed, to say the very least. We have bridges that are falling down. We have what's under the surface that is actually in worse condition than the streetscape. We have underinvested in our national parks, in our forests. We have, as a nation, not heeded the problems that relate to natural disasters that are accelerated as a result of climate change. And you see erosion, you see flooding. We've got a wide range of areas that this country needs to be serious about as we deal with this century. Dealing with trees, shrubs, planting, landscaping, the wide range of green infrastructure is an absolutely essential piece of every one of those elements that I mentioned. It is perhaps the least expensive way to deal with the impacts of climate change. Appropriate landscaping, practicing urban forestry and restoring our vast forests and grasslands around the country is going to go a long way towards restoring nature's carbon balance. And your help in making it clear to what average homeowners can do, just simply planting and maintaining their trees, pretty staggering in terms of the numbers, not just in terms of the dollar value of reducing the carbon, but what it does in terms of shading, energy protection, actually improving the value of the home demonstrably, right down to slowing traffic patterns. If you've got that tree canopy on a street, people's driving behavior changes. You have so many ways that you can add your voice to a critical discussion about how we are going to strengthen the economy. I mean, the little things. I mentioned home values are enhanced by appropriate landscaping and especially street trees. A business that is in a shaded business district, on average, has 10% higher sales. I mean, this is real money to real people, improving the quality of life and bolstering economic activity. You have an opportunity to have a broad array of people in every community put to work dealing with urban forestry. And I mentioned the transportation reauthorization. I have mentioned it, argued about it, implored people in the nursery and anybody involved with green infrastructure to work with me on the reauthorization of this massive piece of legislation. And I think you ought to be aggressive about making sure that when we're talking about the maintenance of hundreds of thousands of acres across America, that we're dealing appropriately with landscaping. Well, we haven't scratched the surface of what is possible, I think, in that transportation reauthorization, dealing with wildlife habitat, dealing with erosion control, dealing with flood control, dealing with, as I mentioned, safety. These are examples of things that I think ought to be front and center on your agenda. We're going to work with you a little bit, working on a tax credit. It's right now, the notion of planting the street tree is the only thing on the EPA checklist that doesn't have a tax credit attached to it. Whether it is energy conservation, whether it is health, transportation, climate change, or the economy, you've got something to say that I think the policymakers need to hear